Hello and welcome. Today we're going to dive into one of the most important pieces of our clean energy puzzle, these massive grid-scale batteries. Now, they are an amazing engineering solution for sure, but they also come with a really complex set of trade-offs. So we're going to explore their promise, their physical limits, and yeah, some of their hidden costs. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, to really get why batteries are so important, we have to understand the problem they're trying to solve for renewables. Then we'll do a super quick physics refresher, I promise it's painless, on two key rules. With that under our belt, we'll introduce the battery itself, do a fair look at its pros and cons, and then wrap up by seeing what role it plays in the grid of the future. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the renewable energy problem. Before we can even talk about storing energy, we need to be crystal clear on why clean energy needs a partner in the first place. What's the fundamental challenge we're actually trying to fix here? So, we are smack in the middle of this incredible energy revolution, and renewable sources like solar and wind, they are just fantastic. They produce basically zero greenhouse gas emissions when they run, and honestly, their costs have dropped so much that they're often the cheapest way to make new electricity anywhere in the world. But here's the catch. This success brings up a huge challenge. Our power grid is this incredibly delicate balancing act. Supply has to meet demand perfectly, every single second of every day. But renewables are what we call intermittent. They're not always on. And that variability, that is the single biggest hurdle to building a grid that runs completely on clean energy. So to really understand the solution, we've got to lay a little groundwork in physics. Don't worry, there are just two key ideas we need to know. And these are absolutely essential for getting a handle on the trade-offs, both the financial and the engineering ones, of storing energy. First up, the big one, the law of conservation of energy. Basically, it says that energy never just disappears. Think about a light bulb getting hot. That heat isn't lost energy, it's just electrical energy that's been transformed into a form we didn't really want. So the key takeaway here is that no process is ever perfect. There's always a kind of energy tax you have to pay. And that leads us right to our second idea, efficiency. Efficiency just measures how good a device is at turning energy into the form we actually want. A device that's 90% efficient turns 90% of the energy into useful work, but that other 10% is lost, usually as heat. This idea of an unavoidable efficiency tax is going to be super important when we start talking about batteries. Okay, with those two principles in our back pocket, we can finally introduce the technology that's designed to solve this whole intermittency problem, the giant grid-scale battery. The easiest way to think about these things is like a giant energy piggy bank for the grid. So when the sun is blazing and the wind is howling, we often make way more clean power than we need. Instead of just letting that go to waste, we can deposit that extra energy into the battery. Then, later that evening when the sun is down, we can make a withdrawal and feed that clean energy right back into the grid. Now, this brings us to the real heart of our discussion today. In theory, this technology sounds perfect, right? But like with everything in the real world, it's all a story of trade-offs. So let's take a really critical, balanced look at the pros and the cons. The upsides here are, well, they're a total game changer. First, and this is the big one, they make renewables reliable by solving that intermittency problem. Second, they make the whole grid more stable. A battery can kick in within milliseconds to stop a blackout, way faster than a traditional power plant. And third, there are real economic benefits. Power companies can store energy when it's super cheap, like from midday solar, and then sell it back when demand and prices are high. But of course, there are some pretty major drawbacks. These systems cost a ton of money up front, and they don't last forever. They have a lifespan of about 5 to 15 years. Plus, there are environmental issues around mining for materials like lithium. And finally, we get back to that physics lesson, those unavoidable efficiency losses. And you see, this is where that physics lesson from earlier really comes into play. Just like a light bulb wastes some electricity as heat, a battery is not a perfect container for energy. Every time you use it, a little bit of that energy is lost in the process. Let's get a bit more specific about what we call this. The technical term we use here is round-trip efficiency. It's basically a measure of how much energy you get back out compared to what you put in. So every single time you charge and then discharge the battery, you pay that energy tax we were talking about. So what does that tax actually look like? Well, for the big lithium-ion batteries we use on the grid today, the round-trip efficiency is typically somewhere between 70 and 80%. Now, what that means is for every 100 megawatt hours of clean electricity you put in, you're only ever going to get 70 to 80 back out to sell. The other 20 to 30%, it's just gone, lost forever as waste heat. So let's kind of put this all together. This table really shows the core trade-off. Just look at that top row. The pro, reliability, which is amazing, it stops blackouts, is paid for the con, the energy lost in every cycle. Same thing for economics. The benefit of storing cheap power is balanced against the super high installation and replacement costs. You see, every single pro has a built-in corresponding con. It's always a balancing act. So let's move on to our final section, powering the future grid. Given all these tricky trade-offs, where does that leave us? Are batteries really the perfect answer to all our energy problems? Well, here's the bottom line. Batteries are not a silver bullet. They're not some magic solution. They have real costs and very real physical limits. But, and this is a big but, they are a vital, maybe even an indispensable tool. They give us the flexibility and the reliability we need to unlock the full potential of our cheapest and cleanest energy sources, the sun and the wind. And that really leaves us with the essential question to think about. We know these batteries have real costs, we know they have limits, but when you think about how badly we need a clean and stable grid, maybe the harder question is this: can we really afford not to use them? That's the huge dilemma that engineers and policymakers are wrestling with right now, and the answer is going to shape our energy world for generations to come.